Hello, movie friends. Welcome back to the show. This is Anthony.
And this is James. And we just saw Spider-Man No Way Home. And my goodness, what a movie they delivered in every single way possible. This movie is epic, hilarious, surreal to an extreme, tragic, and so much fun. I had a blast.
Yeah, it was a great time at the theaters, and it was pretty much a packed house where we went, and this movie just dominated the box office. So everybody everywhere went to see this movie, which is really great. Like, people were going to cinemas again. Like, we had trouble finding parking because the mall was so
I
packed.
hadn't experienced that in a while.
Yeah, it was like, oh, this is what it used to be like when a big movie was released. So it was great to see a packed audience, opening weekend, enjoying a big movie.
Yeah, this was directed by John Watts, written by Chris McKenna and Eric Summers. On Rotten Tomatoes, this film is at 94% critic score, 99% audience score, which is absurd. 9.1 on IMDb, which is, if it maintains that, it will be like a top 10 movie all time on that list. And then Metacritic is at 72, which is very good for Metacritic.
And in this episode, we're going to do a very special movie poster giveaway of a brand new Spider-Man No Way Home poster. All you have to do to enter this contest is subscribe to our YouTube channel, like this video, and comment your favorite Spider-Man movie in this video. That enters you into the contest. We will draw the winner in 1 week. Good luck, everyone. This is sponsored by MoviePosters.com.
Spider-Man's identity is now revealed. Peter asks Doctor Strange for help. When a spell goes wrong, dangerous foes from other worlds start to appear, forcing Peter to discover what it truly means to be Spider-Man. And just a heads up, we're giving you a warning right now. If you're listening, we are going to start spoiling the hell out of this movie. This isn't going to be a spoiler-free review. We're assuming you've seen it if you're going to listen and watch this episode. So we'll give you 5 seconds, but until then, this movie is going to get spoiled like crazy in this episode. So we're talking about everything. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. They're all in it.
All the Peters are in it. They're all in
it. That's the craziest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Absolutely mind-blowing.
It was unbelievable. When Andrew Garfield, when Ned opened the first portal, and I saw in the alleyway, it was definitely Andrew Garfield's costume and the
suit
big,
and like
the
he's
big
a little
eyes. And the way he just like moves, you could tell it's Garfield. I was like, oh my God, that's definitely Garfield. And then he walks in and takes his mask off, and it's like, hey guys, it was amazing.
And then Toby walks through his portal. It was so surreal. It's the only word I have for it because, you know, this is one of those things that we've all been thinking about and talking about for over, 5 years since the Amazing Spider-Man 1. What was it, 2011. Mm-hmm. But then when Tom came in, it was 2016. So, 5-6 years, we've all been talking about who's the best Spider-Man. And when Homecoming came out, it was like the debate, who's the best Peter Parker? Who's the best Spider-Man? Who's the best of both? It's always like, oh, Toby's the best Peter Parker, Andrew's the best Spider-Man, or vice versa. Then Tom does everything so well. But when they're all on camera together, it's like, this is the craziest thing ever. And I'm telling you, I was watching them all together, and Andrew stood out more than anyone.
It made me miss Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. I love Tom Holland, but I think, Andrew Garfield, after watching this movie, I'm like, he really is a scene stealer in every moment of this movie he's in.
And Toby's always been my favorite, but man, when they're actually on camera together for 25 minutes, it's like, dude, I think Andrew might be my favorite.
Yeah, I think after watching the movie, I think Andrew's my favorite too.
And just make me realize that they really did him dirty in terms of the stories and the scripts and the movies that they made with him. It's kind of like, you could kind of compare it to maybe Pierce Brosnan in a way with James Bond, where Pierce Brosnan's the perfect Bond actor to play that character.
He's a great Bond,
But a lot of those movies were straight garbage, and they were what were they doing? He's in space in one of them.
He's surfing on a tidal wave.
He's riding a dirt bike off a cliff, skydiving into a plane to pull it up in front of a mountain. What they were doing with those movies, it's kind of like they kind of ruined Pierce Brosnan's potential. I think Andrew's potential was ruined as Peter Parker for sure.
Yeah, because the first one was a good Spider-Man movie. It's good, but the second one, the script just was not there, and then Electro's and the interpretation of Electro was just not there for me either. And Gwen's death was just super tragic. It ended on a real downer, and I think that he brought so much to the character, you kind of forgot because it's already been 6 years since his second one, maybe longer. 8 years since the second one. And then Tom Holland's already been Spider-Man in 5 movies now, maybe more.
No more,
six or 7
Something
movies.
Like
so we're so used to Tom as Spider-Man that we've kind of forgot Andrew kind of got lost in the shadow. You know what I mean?
Now, before we continue, the best way to support Raiders of the Lost podcast is to become a patron at patreon.com, where you get awesome perks like our podcast schedule, personalized videos, Patreon shoutouts on the show, as well as weekly bonus episodes that everyone has access to. We also just added a Godfather tier, which gets you even more awesome perks like free stickers and stuff like that. We also launched our podcast masterclass online course. So for anyone who wants to start a podcast or improve their current podcast, our 22-chapter, 46-video lesson course will give you all the secrets behind the scenes of how we found the success that we have found. The link is podcastmasterclass.teachable.com, or just go on our website, raidersofTheLostPodcast.com. It's right there on the homepage. You can see all of our sources of content, our merch, our custom movie posters. Follow, subscribe wherever you're listening to. Now let's get back into Spider-Man No Way Home. And you want to just keep talking about the Spideys for a little bit?
Yeah, man, let's go.
But still, to have Tobey come through, and like Tobey is like, he's like weathered, he's like an old wise Spider-Man.
He's like the father of the three.
He's been through everything. He's gone through all like the emotional turmoils, because I think it's obvious that every Peter Parker goes through the same beats in their life where they lose something big. And the really great thing about this film is Andrew and Tobey's Spider-Man have already gone through that big loss, with with Uncle Ben for Tobey, and then Gwen with Andrew's Peter Parker. And now they're helping Tom's Peter Parker go through his big loss, which he just suffered with Aunt May.
And also helping him grow as a Spider-Man by the way he approaches being Spider-Man, because after May's death, he's so enraged and wants to kill Goblin. And that's something both the other two Spider-Men felt in terms of their situations in their films. And especially Tobey and Andrew, they're like, you don't want to do this. Like, this isn't who you are. We felt what you felt, and we regret having those feelings. Like when Andrew says he was so bitter after Gwen's death and he stopped pulling his punches, you can imagine how aggressive he ended up becoming.
He probably killed people.
Yeah, he could have been like a Batman-esque vigilante at some point. And then, Tobey obviously wanted to murder the killer of Ben, and he tried to, and he probably would have if he could have. And he felt remorse for even feeling that,
even though he got what he wanted, it didn't make him feel better.
Exactly. And so they teach Tom a bunch of lessons in this film in terms of who he is and what it means to be Spider-Man. And killing isn't something that we do. You know what I mean? We protect people. And so I love the moment when Tom's railing on Goblin and he pulls up the glider. He's about to like jam the blades right into Goblin, and then Tobey stops him. It was really a great moment. And Tobey's just like, no, don't do it, bro.
Yeah, no, it is a great character arc for all of it. Them on camera together was so much fun. It was so funny, the dialogue. Yeah. But also, I love like the respect they all had for each other. It wasn't like them like trying to one up each other. Like, oh man, I'm cooler in my universe. But they were all just like, dude, you're amazing. No man, hey man, you're amazing. I want to fight aliens too, man. You guys have all the good stuff. Like, no man, hey, don't look at me. You say it. You're amazing.
I've just fought a Russian guy in a rhino suit.
It was amazing, and it was so playful and fun. Like all the meta stuff and all the harkening back to old references, like they're referencing Tobey's back, like my back.
That's great.
And then
Dude, the back cracking scene was so funny.
Andrew cracks it for him. The organic webbing was so hysterical because that's always something that I've been fascinated with, because like we've talked about before, Tobey's Spider-Man is organic webbing, but none of the comics or other interpretations really have it as him having organic. But then they usually have to develop it. But then Andrew and Tom's Spider-Man are like, that's so interesting. That would have saved so much time. I had to make this stuff on my own. How do you do that?
You know how hard it is?
Does it come out of anywhere else?
So James and I, we unfortunately were spoiled. This movie was spoiled for us.
Yeah.
In a bunch of ways. We got people were commenting in our TikTok and YouTube channels,
tweeting at us.
So walking into this, I knew Aunt May was gonna die, and I knew that Andrew was gonna save Zendaya when she fell. So I knew those two things were for sure gonna happen.
And we all couldn't assume we knew that all the Spider-Man were gonna be in it, but we all knew. No.
Yeah,
it was confirmed. People were like tweeting at us, leaving comments, and we like to interact with fans, so like it was impossible not to see this stuff. So I regret not going to like the very first showing on Thursday, which we probably should have now.
Yeah, no, but people from Europe were tweeting stuff, so they got the advanced
Someone
release.
literally tweeted at us the other day before we saw it. It was just the tweet. It was just like, Aunt May dies, all the three Spider-Man show up. Yeah. And that was the tweet. And all I did was look at my notifications on the Twitter accounts. Like, that was it. It's like, wow, you know what? There's a special place reserved in hell for people like you and those kinds of people. But
also people on YouTube throwing up videos with thumbnails of it showing like Tobey or Andrew. And it's like, you can't avoid a thumbnail on YouTube. It's on the page. It's not like it's like, and there's no warning for that. So that happened for me as well. I saw an image of Toby, like all bloodied and stuff. So that spoiled that for me. But so it would have been, I wish I could have walked into it completely blind.
Yeah.
But for any of you who did and didn't look at spoilers, I hope it was just really satisfying to see these great reveals.
Yeah, because it was so emotional. Even though I knew Aunt May was gonna die, I was expecting it. I was waiting for it the entire film, unfortunately. And while it was happening, I'm like, oh, here it is. And I'm like, even when they tried to make it seem like she was going to be okay when she stood up after she got hit by the glider.
But her hands shaking.
And
Marissa
then
told me did a great
then
job.
I'm like, I know she's going to die at some point in the scene. It was still very emotional. I cried, I think, 3 times during this movie. It was really emotional.
I got choked up a few times.
For
I didn't cry, though.
40, I let him out, man. For like 40 minutes, this movie had me like by the heart, just like.
I could see you were like holding your chin.
I was like, I was like rubbing my face. I'm like, I can't believe this is happening right now.
But I think that moment is one of the strongest parts of the film when Goblin shows up, because at first it's just Norman Goblin shows up at first, but then we don't see it, but Norman takes over pretty much immediately, and he abandons Goblin and tries to figure out a way of what's going on and seeking out Peter's help. And I like how this film showed the split personality of Norman Osborn that we didn't see in The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
They really missed the mark with Goblin in that film. That was one of the weakest parts of the film, is their interpretation of Harry Osborn.
And they expanded on it from Spider-Man 1 because, we saw it with him like talking in the mirror and stuff like that, but we never really saw like the intense duality of the characters of Norman versus Goblin, where it's a back and forth, kind of like with Gollum and Smeagol in Lord of the Rings. It was so similar to that.
Yes, it was like that great scene when Willem Dafoe is just talking to himself in the mirror, and Norman's learning that Goblin is inside of him. Because those elements are in the first half of Spider-Man, but then Goblin pretty much takes over for the last half of that movie. But I really love seeing the dual personality of fighting for Norman Osborn's body and mind. And I think the movie needed Goblin, because halfway through the film it was getting a little slow. And
it kind of got a little, like, I wouldn't say stale, but like it was kind of like slowing down a little bit, like when they're all at the apartment.
It didn't feel like there were any stakes going on, so I was kind of like, okay, I mean, this is fun, it's cute, they're all at Happy's apartment, but I was like, we need something. And then when Goblin shows up, messes that building up, pretty much messes up Peter, kills Aunt May, you're like, okay, we needed Goblin, we needed this big time killer villain to really show us the stakes in this movie. And Willem Dafoe was so great. It's so nice to see him as Goblin again. I think this was his best performance as Goblin. He showed new facets to the character, like when Peter is just wailing on him in the face, like punching him over and over again. At one point, Goblin just ends up like maniacally smiling, like enjoying getting punched in the face. It was such a great performance. So great to see Willem back in that role. And I think that he really made the movie. He added so much stakes to the movie in terms of conflict that we needed.
Yeah, and he was more evil than we'd ever seen him before, but also more human, because we saw that human part of him who's a victim to the wrath of Goblin inside of him. And I think that Goblin proved himself to be the ultimate Spider-Man villain in this movie, because he's the catalyst for the other villains. He's like, we're gods. We shouldn't have to give up our power for gods, and we should stay that, and we should keep our powers. And I loved how they revealed how Goblin just turned into Norman secretly and took over the body after, they were trying to cure everyone, because, Peter Parker, one of his weaknesses, you might say, is his empathy or his morality, but really that's what sets him apart and makes him such a great hero in the end of the film as well. But, he thinks he can cure everybody, and he wants to. He wants to do the right thing rather than letting them go to their deaths. And obviously Goblin won't let that happen. And I love the reveal, because the Spidey sense, I think, was done so well in this movie, where the Spidey sense was they drew it out a little more, which I liked. I enjoyed. Usually it's just a couple seconds when they do a Spidey sense, but it was like an entire 15-second sequence of Tom's Spider sense tingling, and where we're like, oh, who's flipping? Which villain is flipping right now? And it leads to him to Goblin. He figures it out.
Oh yeah, that was a great moment and great camera work. They also had a really good long take in the first act of the film when Peter and MJ go to his apartment, and it's a great long take where they show up in the bedroom. Aunt May and Hogan. Oh, Happy Hogan is a highlight of this movie. He's cracking.
Funny.
She's breaking up with him.
Just a fling.
It's so funny. He's crying. It's great. And then MJ and Peter show up. Then they go into the living room. He's pulling down the curtains, and they look at the news, and then they look outside. It's all one take. They did a great job with that shot.
Yeah, it really was. I like that a lot. But I mean, this movie starts fast. It gets going right away, which I like so much. Rather than just giving us a ton of exposition, let's go. everyone knows Peter Parker, Spider-Man. Let's get it going. And then we get into the story of Peter getting the idea of convincing Doctor Strange to cast that spell because he's got to take responsibility for what's going on. Obviously, even though it's not his fault that Mysterio left that message which lied about him being a villain and cast the world against him. But now MJ and Ned, their lives are affected forever. Their lives are kind of ruined, you could say, because they know Peter Parker.
So I like that because with the trailer, I didn't really fully accept what I thought was the motivation. I thought it was like Doctor Strange and Peter really gonna do this just because like he doesn't want people to know he's Spider-Man.
They lied in the trailer a lot,
but in the movie it's like, oh, it's really affecting not just his lives but everyone he loves lives really negatively, and it's affecting the futures of MJ and Ned. So I was like, okay, I can totally get behind his motivation to want to do this in order to help prevent his friends' lives from being destroyed because of him.
Yeah, Marvel. Their trailers, I never will believe what their trailers show us again because there's so much dialogue in the trailers that was cut from the film.
Yeah.
Like all the dialogue between Wong and Doctor Strange in the trailer where he's like, don't cast that spell, Strange. Then Strange winks at Peter. Not in the film.
Yeah.
None of that's in the movie. It's completely different dialogue. So obviously they film scenes clearly different ways to see what works, and they're probably putting stuff in trailers to throw you off the scent and lying to you. But yeah, I don't love it so much, but I get why they do it.
I hate it. I'm like, come on, if it's not in the movie, don't put it in the trailer. Is my thing.
So they're just like making dialogue for trailers, which is very smart marketing.
But that also misled a lot of people because people kept saying in our comments like, I bet Doctor Strange is actually this guy who's like taking over Mephisto. So because why would Doctor Strange do that spell, especially if Wong warns him not to? So that definitely threw people off. I think that Marvel knows what they're doing in terms of enticing fans to really debate amongst themselves beforehand and kind of go crazy.
It's genius marketing.
And there's something else.
Well, Doctor Strange, his involvement in general wasn't even close to as sinister or as selfish or arrogant as
I was kind of right with my prediction.
Is what I thought it was going to be. Like, I thought it was going to be him being super arrogant, but like it seems like the spell he was going to cast wasn't a huge deal, but the fact that Peter kept trying to change it at the end 5-6 times, that's what caused it to be uncontainable and out of control and why he had to stop it.
Yeah, and I predicted that he would be the antagonist, but not like an evil person.
He's just the catalyst.
Because like Doctor Strange, he's getting more movies and he's part of the Avengers. He's going to be like, I think, the leader of the Phase 5.
Yeah, probably. I wouldn't have seen him as like a villain in this movie.
He's like the leader of the MCU right now. You know what I mean?
Probably going to be him.
He's like the new Stark.
Yeah, or Captain Marvel and maybe Scarlet Witch if she's a villain or antagonist. A protagonist or antagonist. We don't fully know yet for that.
Yeah, I think that we'll find out in Multiverse of Madness what exactly is going on with Wanda.
But I think one of the best parts of the movie is obviously all the action and the fight sequences because Peter battles like 8 different people in this movie. He even battles Doctor Strange for a little bit, which is really cool and fascinating to watch.
I totally fought Doctor Strange and I beat him. I won.
It's so funny. And him versus Goblin multiple times is epic. I love the fight in the hallways, like going through the floors and ceilings and stuff like that. It was so epic to like see their power on display.
It's great because Goblin always beats Peter. He beats Peter multiple times. You know what I mean?
It's really Peter's
in all
heart.
The movies.
It's Peter's heart in like intuition that really saves him every time against Goblin.
Exactly. And then we get the reveal of all the new villains, and Lizard pretty much is the same.
Lizard's Lizard.
Yeah, Lizard's the Lizard.
He just wants to turn everyone to a lizard.
Yeah, Electro was much more improved.
Yeah.
And I think Jamie Foxx was really encouraged by this film to really, let me get another shot at Electro.
Yeah, he brought so much more swagger to the role, more energy.
It was more Jamie Foxx.
Yeah,
that's what we were saying. We were like, let's just make it Jamie Foxx.
That should have been Electro.
He's amazing as he is.
Imagine if Amazing Spider-Man 2 was him, that Electro. It would have been so much better, much better movie.
Sick. And
they might have made a third Super Spider-Man.
Legit, yeah. And he ended up being probably like the most powerful villain. Probably, because he was dominating.
Unstoppable because he got the arc reactor. So that's just an incredible concept to think that, like, if you went back like 10 years ago and thought, like, in the MCU at some point, Electro's going to be in here from Amazing Spider-Man 2 and he's going to have access to an arc reactor.
Yeah,
like, that would have blown my freaking mind.
Yeah,
but like
wild.
now it's like, it's no big deal. It happened.
Yeah, but I will say with Electro, it doesn't make sense him being there because he never learned who Spider-Man was Peter Parker in their movie.
Okay. So
it doesn't make sense because the spell ended up being that anyone who knew that Spider-Man was Peter Parker was sent back. It's sent into this dimension.
Yeah, so I was actually thinking about that a lot.
Which was my prediction from the trailer.
All right, so Jamie Foxx, Electro, new powers, but now he wants to stay there. Mm-hmm. But how is Electro there? If we never saw in Amazing Spider-Man 2 Max know who Peter was. He never learns his identity. We never see that happen.
Spider-Man always has his mask on.
And then when Peter removes his mask, on the Statue of Liberty after Max loses all of his powers, and he reveals like, oh man, I thought you were gonna be black.
Exactly.
So like he didn't know what Peter looked like, but I think you can assume that maybe he learned who Peter Parker's identity was in terms of like Spider-Man is Peter Parker, because remember when they're in the basement, what's the basement called that they're all trapped in, like the rogue gallery of them all? It's like
the wizard's basement.
Yeah, the wizard's basement. It's called. I can't remember what the word was.
It's a complicated name.
It's like the convent or something like that, right? So Electro is explaining that he was on a power grid absorbing data before he got pulled into that universe. So maybe we can assume that while he was absorbing all that data, he learned somehow through some sort of data that Peter Parker was Spider-Man, maybe from someone else.
Just a name?
Maybe from someone else knowing that he was somewhere on like a computer or something in the world. Maybe he was accessing all the information in the world because
like
he's so
AI.
powerful.
Yeah.
And then maybe that's where he learned that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, but I don't know who Peter Parker is or what he looks like, but I know the identity is named Peter Parker. So I think that's what they put in to reveal that like he absorbed so much data that he learned everything in the world. Maybe all the data that's on digital information, maybe he consumed everything and saw that.
That's a great. I mean, I wish they did that with the character in Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
That powerful.
But again, he got pulled in right before he died, so he was absorbing that right before he dies in Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the interesting concept, I think, that they're all being pulled in right before their death from Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, I think Doc Ock's entrance was epic because it's Doc Ock as a villain after, you could say, his first couple meetings with Spider-Man in Spider-Man 2, and he knows who Peter is, he knows who Peter Parker is in terms of him being Spider-Man. And the fight on the highway is really great. I think that something obviously I love the fight sequences in Spider-Man 2. I think Spider-Man 2 is still my favorite Spider-Man movie.
It has the best fight scenes.
I think this might be number 2 for me on the list. But I think Spider-Man 2, Doc Ock versus Spider-Man are like the best sequences we'll ever see, I think, in a fight because there's epic up the building and on the subways.
The train is amazing.
But one thing I always had, or like a con I always have with those fight scenes, is that Doc Ock takes punches and like kicks Spider-Man like no problem. Like he should his head should be falling off his body.
Because he's not super powered. It's the tentacles.
But what they did a great job in this movie is he like never gets touched by Peter Parker because the tentacles, he dodges the punches and kicks so well, and the tentacles usually block it. So I don't even think he takes a punch from Peter in this movie, which I think was really smart.
That's what I've always thought watching Spider-Man 2, as amazing as the sequences are, and they are the best Spider-Man fight scenes. No, I don't think they'll ever be topped, but Doc Ock is his body, he's just a normal human being. He's not superpowered like Norman Osborn is. So he shouldn't be able to take like a punch from Spider-Man and not have his head cave in.
He gets multiple punches to the face. He's like, "Oh, it's no big deal." It's like you're not even like a boxer, and you can take a punch from Spider-Man. Like that's not, like
exactly. I think that Sam Raimi was like, people aren't going to notice that the first time they watch it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a superhero movie. It's 2003, 4,
2004.
Yeah, whatever.
But I think that even watching this, as great as the fight scenes are, what Sam Raimi did with that train scene was really absolutely phenomenal, and the skyscraper one is really fantastic. But that train fight, I think it's hard. It could be the best superhero fight of all time. I really think so.
It could be up there.
Yeah, like number 1.
Yeah, I still love Batman versus Bane in Dark Knight Rises.
That's a great fight too.
When Bane beats Batman, I love that scene so much.
That's one of my favorites as well.
Not in terms of like how amazing the choreography is, but in terms of just like the stakes,
what it means,
the emotional impact of that scene is just incredible.
100%.
But it's pretty epic. And then,
I think the best fight in this movie was the Goblin versus Peter. In the apartment building.
Me too. That was so
great.
fun.
Yeah,
it
was brutal.
Yeah,
because you hadn't seen Tom like go through like a brutal fight like that. Like he's been in wrecks and
he's
stuff.
Been hit like by Thanos and whatnot.
But like actually like getting like brutally beaten by someone that hadn't been done before for Tom's character yet. Like it reminded me of Peter versus Goblin in Spider-Man 1 in that abandoned building. Like Peter just getting laid out by Goblin, punched over and over again. It reminded me of that. I think they wanted to capture like, let's get Peter in a situation like that Toby scene where Toby feels like it looks like Toby's literally going to get beaten to death.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. That was so refreshing to see, I think, especially in an MCU.
There's another moment that I was confused, aside from the Electro one, was when Peter first steals the box with the spell in it, and then Doctor Strange like easily takes a hold of him outside of the sanctum.
Does the astral projection.
And does the astral projection, and then Peter's body is managing to evade Doctor Strange from grabbing the box still. And the Strange was like, "How are you doing this?" And Peter's inside, he is astrally projected.
And he's able to fly back into his body.
Yeah, that was something that I just didn't really understand how that was possible.
I'm assuming it's just his spider senses. I think it's similar to how when the blip happens, he takes so long to fade away because of his spider powers and spider senses. I think that maybe there are things that he doesn't even know he knows how to do yet at some point, and we don't know how to do. So I'm just assuming it's just his spider powers, maybe his spider instincts, because he's not doing it. It's his body controlling itself, reacting naturally to Doctor Strange. So I'm assuming it's just like his spider
reflexes.
Right, spider reflexes. That's my assumption.
That's a good point.
That's what I'm thinking.
I'm sold on that.
Yeah,
I mean, thanks for clearing that up.
Hey, man, it was like, how's he do it? How is he doing that? It's Spider-Man. But I think it's just Spider-Man doesn't even know all his powers.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I can get behind that.
Hey, you're welcome, man.
That was like, how's that possible?
There's something in this movie that I'm still confused about, though.
What's that?
Like, I've been thinking about all the things, but there's one that I'm like a little off on. So, well, actually, two things. So the spell, when they cast it, it's for everybody in the world to not remember Peter Parker as Spider-Man. That's the original spell. And then the final spell eventually is for everyone to forget Peter Parker ever existed. Yeah. So, like, he has no identity at the end of the film, which I think is great. We'll get to that later. So I was talking to my buddy Hader about this last night. And so we were talking about how, Nick Fury's off-world. They say that in the first act of the film because Tom's like, just talk to Nick Fury. They're like, oh, he's off-world for a year, right? Is that what they say? Yeah. So does the spell only apply to Earth? Does it only apply to our world versus anyone who's in the universe outside of Earth? The spell doesn't apply to them at all. So, like, Nick Fury, maybe he'll come back in the new Spider-Man reboot, be like, hey, what's up, Peter Parker? Peter will be like, how do you know who I am? Will Captain Marvel know? Will the Guardians of the Galaxy? Will everyone who's... Because obviously he lost all of his ties to Avengers on Earth, or all the people on Earth who knew who he was, but does anyone who was off-world, off-Earth, the spell not affect them at all?
I think it affects everyone in this universe, as opposed to this part of the multiverse. Everyone in this universe... in this reality, who knows who Peter Parker is?
I think it just depends on how you define the word world. Does the word world mean just your planet and your home, or does it mean the universe?
I'm saying universe.
I think the other. I think the opposite. I think
maybe Doctor Strange can't reach that far. I don't know, because Doctor Strange can access other dimensions. It makes sense that he could make a spell that would affect this entire reality.
Yeah, but I think just the specification of the word world, rather than saying universe, rather than saying dimension, because he could have used those words. It's just the world. I think that anyone who wasn't on Earth will remember Peter Parker.
Hey, that's a good point. I
think
the specifics of the spell.
Yeah. So that's just one thing that I'm just still like, we don't know what that means at all. I think, because there's a reason why they put that on there. Why would they say Nick Fury's been off world? Why not just say like Nick Fury's been gone for a year? We don't know where he is.
And although at the end, when Strange does the final spell, which I think was necessary for Tom Holland's Peter, I think it was a great story arc for his character to have everyone forget who he is. We'll talk about that next. But what I thought was missing from that moment was we didn't see like when MJ and Ned's memory of him was erased, and they would have been like, "Why am I on this broken Captain America shield on the Statue of Liberty?"
Well, maybe it happens like in the morning when they wake up. Maybe it's not maybe it's not instant.
That's something.
Because then they would be so confused. Like, why am I here?
So that's what I was confused about. Like, when did their memories of Peter get taken away? Was it when Strange made that spell? Because also Strange would have been like, I'm floating on top of the Statue of Liberty. What's going on?
So there's a whole reality change.
Yeah, because if you can't remember Peter, you wouldn't remember the experience with Peter because Peter's involved in the entire sequence of events.
Well, you remember Spider-Man, so you remember you were just with Spider-Man, but you just don't remember that it's Peter.
Maybe that's the way.
That would have because like then obviously Ned and MJ would be like, why was I here?
That's what I was confused about. So I was curious like why we weren't shown when it happened that they forgot about Peter. That's something that was missing for me at the end.
Yeah,
because like were that either their entire memories of the entire sequence of events erased, or were they of just Peter and they can still remember Spider-Man? And also because Peter notices MJ's Band-Aid on her forehead. So I mean, when did she? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe when they fell asleep, they forgot him.
Maybe Doctor Strange brought them home or something.
Yeah, but Doctor Strange forgets it's Peter too.
Yeah, that's a really good question because also another great question with the spell. How about we head into our intermission, then we'll get to that.
Get into it.
We're going to leave you on a cliffhanger. Let's get to our intermission. We're actually kind of getting good at our jobs now. All right, intermission time. Let's start with the movie quote competition. You know what the difference is between you and me? I make this look good.
It's Will Smith in Men in Black.
Yes, sir.
It's a good one. I have one from a fan. This is a good one. Where is it?
Yeah, where is it, man? People are listening. We put them on a cliffhanger, and now they have to deal with your BS scrolling on your phone.
Oh, we did that last week. Never mind.
Wow.
Yeah, we already did that one. Okay, I got one. I shall call him Squishy, and he shall be mine, and he shall be my Squishy. Come on, Squishy. Come on, little Squishy.
Oh, is this a Pixar movie? Oh, what is it? Oh my gosh. It's not Nemo. No. It's what?
Want me to say it again?
Yeah.
I shall call him Squishy, and he shall be mine. He shall be mine, and he shall be my Squishy. Come on, Squishy. Come on, little Squishy.
What is this? I can't remember.
It's Finding Nemo.
It is Nemo.
Yeah, it's the story.
Yeah. Okay, never mind. All right, guest movie release year: Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
1992.
Not 92.
88.
Yeah.
Damn it. Fucking A. I'm sorry for swearing.
Oh, is it 89? No, it's 89. I'm sorry. You were wrong either way. 1989.
Guess this movie release year. The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou.
2004.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good one.
Movie pop quiz time. What was Andrew Garfield's first film role? You actually showed me this movie.
Boy A.
Yeah.
It's a great movie.
2004, I think. He got a BAFTA TV win.
Yeah, I saw that when it came out. I was like, this is an amazing movie.
He's such a amazing actor, and like when I first saw that movie, I'm like, this kid's gonna be a star.
I rented it at Blockbuster.
You're so young. Oh yeah, it was a DVD. That's right. Man, everyone should check it out. Boy A. It's his first role in the film.
He's really fantastic.
It's a tragic movie.
Yeah. All right, here's my quiz. What Martin Scorsese movie did Willem Dafoe star in?
Passion of the Christ. Or what's it called?
You get the title right.
Last Temptation of Christ.
Yeah. Not Mel Gibson.
He played J. Christ. JC.
JC.
All right. We have any haters of the week? Any unsubscribes? What do we got?
Yeah.
Any real haters?
No real haters. I looked. I couldn't find any.
Well, besides all the people that are tweeting at us, we can assume that they hate us so much that they wanted to spoil the movie just because. What kind of person does that?
Dude, I couldn't believe it.
Like,
you're
mad. Tweeting at just two dudes who run a movie podcast to enjoy film, and then you're just ruining the movie for them.
And also, I had to, after we got spoiled on TikTok, people kept, I was like, I need to keep an eye on the comments so our fans don't get spoiled.
Yeah, I blocked and deleted every one, but still, it's like
I deleted 3 spoilers, and I was like, okay, I guess I know what happens in the movie.
They're not just trying to spoil it for us; they're trying to spoil it for all our fans too, which is really unfortunate. That people in the world are like that.
Yeah, and so in our Spider-Verse episodes, Leo Terre DJ said the fact that you didn't choose Noir Spider-Man as your favorite and that he's voiced by Nick Cage is disgraceful. Unsubscribed.
Into the Spider-Verse.
And then I have a top comment this week. Code Black commented on our Empire episode. These guys are both very attractive. They must get a lot of girls, or if they are in relationships, they banged a lot of girls. I died when I read that.
Best comment of the year.
It's so I laughed out loud so hard.
So people kept DMing us like, did you pay someone to write that?
Dude, it was so funny.
I wouldn't even think to pay someone to write that.
It was so funny. Oh my God.
You got anything else?
I have Vuitton Nthamp called us out on the Office episode. How do you do a whole podcast on the Office and not mention that Carol is Steve Carell's real life wife?
Yeah, we didn't.
Unsubscribed.
You're right, we didn't.
I totally forgot to say that.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah,
not 8 seasons of a show.
And then our Godfather tier shout out of this episode is Grayson Younts, our great fan. He's been with the show for a very long time, and he just joined and upped onto the Godfather tier on our Patreon, which has a ton of amazing perks like a free sticker, access to Zoom calls, and extra bonus episodes that only the Godfather tier episodes have. So thanks for the support, Grayson.
Thanks, pal. And for our supporter of the week, also, we have a 5-star review from another pretentious movie podcast. Title was Clickbait. This podcast is hands down the best movie pod out there. These guys are legitimately the best podcast in the business. I can't tell you how many times these guys have gotten me through a tough day with all the laughs and ongoing jokes, as well as all superb insight on movies and TV. I anticipate every new episode and look forward to many more. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate that. That's really
Thanks
sweet.
so much. And we have 2 questions from our fans. We're doing this new thing where ask us questions and we'll answer them on the show. And so T2 asked, was the host feud staged on our Instagram?
That was actually inspired by
Rob McElhenney
and Glenn Howerton on Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So on their Instagram accounts, while they were filming like a couple seasons ago, they had a feud on their Instagram stories, and like one of them was like Glenn Howerton going off on Rob while eating a salad. And I sent it to Anthony. I'm like, we got to do something like this. It'd be so funny. And it's just like after that, it was like every day it was just so fun and organic. But we stopped doing it because some people thought we were actually feuding. We were gonna end the show. But it was just a lot of fun.
It was great.
Sometimes I'll just go back and watch all those stories. It's hysterical.
They're brilliant.
It's right there on the highlight on our Instagram page.
If you want to check them out, just right there in the highlights. And then
maybe we should make a video and put it on YouTube.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That'd be pretty funny.
That'd be awesome. And then Kelly asked, "What was your last favorite episode to do of the podcast?"
My last favorite. Well, they're all my favorites, obviously. But
you gotta pick one.
I feel like anytime we do Nolan, so like I think The Prestige, that was one of my all-time favorite episodes to do in general, and that was like 4 months.
What
ago.
about lately though? Like the last couple months?
What have we done lately? We've done a lot of Man of Steel.
Man of Steel was great. Good Will Hunting was a good one.
Good Will was a lot of fun.
I enjoyed doing Good Will Hunting, so I'd pick that one.
Yeah, Man of Steel for me.
Nice. Thanks for the questions, guys.
All right. On this day in film history, in 1946, It's a Wonderful Life premiered. In 1974, The Godfather Part 2 premiered. In 1996, Scream is released. In 2002, Gangs of New York is released. And happy birthday to Todd Phillips and Jonah Hill. My streaming recommendation for this episode is Fantastic Mr. Fox, which is on Amazon Prime.
And I recommend Raising Arizona is on Amazon Prime as well. Like Joel and Ethan Coen directed it with Holly Hunter and Nick Cage. It's very funny.
All right, back to the cliffhanger I so annoyingly left you guys on. So we were talking about the spell and how Anthony was saying that, like,
when does it go into effect?
Did the reality change? Did MJ and Ned get put back? Did they wake up like, why am I here on the Statue of Liberty? Did Doctor Strange like, why am I here at the Statue of Liberty? Does everyone forget that? Do they remember they were with Spider-Man? Like, why was I with Spider-Man on the Statue of Liberty?
And also all the stuff before the Spider-Man show up, they're with Peter.
Yeah, and so and Happy Hogan obviously doesn't remember Spider-Man, but wouldn't you think that because he dated Aunt May that he was her nephew? So everyone's forgotten Peter Parker in general. So he doesn't exist. And I think that they showed it all. And also I'm curious, do all records
I wanted to see a shot of
they got something. So were all records, were all digital information of Peter Parker gone and wiped from existence? I'm gonna say yes, because in his apartment, when he walks in, moves into his single bedroom apartment, the studio in New York, he has a GED test book.
Yeah.
So obviously he doesn't exist. He has no identity. So he's probably trying to build an identity. I have to take the GED to prove that I have a high school degree, or I can get a high school degree, then I'll go on from there. And now everyone will know I'm a genius still. But so it seems like all records of Peter Parker have been wiped from existence.
I would have liked to see a couple of shots of, remember when Hermione erases her parents' mind in Deathly Hallows Part 1?
And the images,
she disappears in all of the photos. I think it would have been really emotional.
Obliviate.
Yeah, obliviate. It would have been really emotional to show, like, maybe MJ has like photos of them on her wall in her bedroom, and he gets erased from those photos, and same thing with Ned. So I think that would have been awesome. And at May's house as well. So I think that could have been really emotional to see.
But I think what Marvel, again, they're so smart and clever that they're making us all go crazy about it and talk about it. So like, why do we have to tell you? Why don't you guys talk about it and figure it out yourselves?
I'm just curious to like how exactly when it happened and how it happened.
I think we'll learn more.
I think it's really complicated, so maybe they avoided it because they're like, we don't really have to be specifically showing what happened.
Not yet.
The audience will accept it, no problem.
And I think we'll probably learn more in Multiverse of Madness. And there's no, obviously, we're going to learn more in the rest of the Marvel movies because they're all interconnected in some way. Mm-hmm. You know, we get little glimpses here and there. Like, obviously, we have the great cameo of Matt Murdock, Daredevil, in this movie, which also ties into Hawkeye, where I won't spoil if you haven't seen Hawkeye, who the big villain in Hawkeye becomes is connected, obviously, with Murdock, and now Murdock's connected in this world as well. So they're all interconnected, and we're getting little pieces of information all over the place.
Who's the villain in Hawkeye?
I don't want to spoil it if people haven't seen it yet.
Okay,
I'll tell you. I'll whisper it. I'll mouth it to you on camera.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I figured.
Yeah. So
it's Green Goblin, he said.
No, it's Joker from The Dark Knight.
No, it's Joker, Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah.
But I think that I really like the ending of the film because I know people have given me flack for this, but I've never really felt like the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies were Spider-Man movies. And I know like people love all the other characters being involved in the other movies and, you know, crossovers and stuff. But what I think always made Tobey's film so great is it's just him. And in Spider-Man 1 and 2, there's still like so much of Stark going on, whether it's actually Stark in number 1 or the Stark Industries tech in number 2.
Captain America's in
Captain
the
America,
first one a lot.
So it never really felt like it's Spider-Man's movie fully. But I think, and so that was always like why I never put Tom Holland as my favorite Spider-Man movies.
Well, what about Far From Home? Like Far From Home,
the Stark tech is just so involved.
yeah, and plus Nick Fury's in it.
Yeah, Nick Fury's in it.
It's got the Avengers vibe. Like, and Mysterio's going to be an Avenger.
And the Mysterio worked for Stark. You know what I mean? So I think it was still, even though Stark's not there, and I know he lost Stark and he's a father figure.
The glasses.
That's fine too. But like having the tech there, it still felt like too MCU Avengers-y. But ending this movie on the note where Peter Parker is now completely on his own, and I love the high tech suits, but I've never been a huge fan of like the Iron Man type spider suits. You know what I mean?
It's cool in small doses. I think,
and of course he needs it when he goes into space. But I've always preferred like the classic suits, and then when
I think even Tom Holland Spider-Man, I think Peter Parker even prefers that. That's why he wants the suit with the paint all over. He's like, I'm trying to get the paint off. I want my suit back.
Exactly. So when Peter, first of all, loses his identity, is lost to the world, and he's completely on his own, and then he makes this new suit out of just really simple fabric, and it looks a lot like the animated suit, like that light blue on the pants, not the dark blue, but the really light
aqua almost.
Yeah, that looked great. It's like my favorite suit now, I think. And that final moment when he puts that suit on and he's swinging through New York at Christmas time through the snow, then I was like, oh, Tom Holland is just Peter Parker, Spider-Man. I'm very excited to see what his new franchise will look like. Obviously, he's going to be involved in the MCU still, but I really am looking forward to Tom Holland just being on his own now.
Yeah, it's so interesting because that's what Peter Parker is. He's supposed to be this broke kid from Queens.
Yes, yeah.
On his own, no gadgets, no tech, except from stuff he developed himself. He's got his family. But now what's even more interesting with Peter no longer existing, no one remembers him. This is the most vulnerable we've ever seen a Peter Parker in any interpretation you could say in any comic book, movie, or TV show. He's so vulnerable because he's the most alone he's ever been. He's got no family. He has no MJ. He has no past really now because his past doesn't exist anymore. So it's such an interesting start to a franchise where we don't have to worry about an origin story. We know the origin story. This whole thing's kind of been like an origin story, you could say, for what Peter Parker has become now. And now we're just going into a franchise of Peter Parker, Spider-Man. We don't have to worry about the past. Let's just 3 movies. Give me 3 movies of Tom Holland Spider-Man. Let's go.
Yeah, and now he's probably going to be a photographer now, and he's probably going to work at the Daily Bugle. And Betty Brant, the actress, and Gory Rice, who's been playing Betty in school, she's always had a very minor role, but I guarantee she's going to have a heavy role in the next trilogy, as well as Zendaya. And I bet there's a love triangle, but I'm sure she'll show up. And I'm looking forward to seeing Peter in New York City, working as a photographer, just trying to make ends meet.
Crummy apartment.
Dealing with J. Jonah Jameson. Those feel like Peter Parker things that you need in a Spider-Man movie. And I'm really excited to see Tom Holland in those situations.
Yeah, so 2 things you just brought up that I want to talk about. So J. Jonah Jameson, played by J.K. Simmons now in every iteration of the character. Yeah. I think a lot of people are like, why isn't he different in the universe? I think it's just because...
Well, he doesn't have hair in this one.
Yeah, but he's so perfect for the role. I think they're like, whatever, who cares? Yeah. It's just a gimmick.
Everyone loves him.
We love J.K. Yeah. Who else? Why were we going to recast him? Like, what's the point? We'll do anything different? No, let's keep him, make him bald with a different mustache here, and having a podcast with a green screen behind him. The opening was so funny.
He's just like in his room.
But I think it's just fun it's just a fun thing that they're doing. I don't think they're thinking too hard about that. But then Zendaya was so good in this movie. She's phenomenal. I think it's the best role for an MJ that we've seen for Spider-Man. And her character is so much improved in this film compared to the other iterations.
Especially the first one.
Yeah, and she helps Peter so much. She's integral to the success of her mission, Ned as well, too. She really is like that main emotional connection in the film for Peter, which he never really has had yet. He's never had that deep connection with somebody on camera that we've had, because obviously they were like had their thing in Far From Home, but they weren't like together yet. But now that they're in a relationship and they love each other, I think that the most emotional point of the film for me, it wasn't when Aunt May died. It was when him and MJ had to say goodbye to each other for the last time. And she's saying, "Come find me," and like they say, "I love you" for the first time to each other. We can assume, and it's so emotional. I've never seen anything like that in a superhero film or in a movie ever, where like you have to say goodbye to somebody you loved dearly for the last time because they're gonna forget you forever.
Yeah, and also with this movie, it really felt like they were still kids, because they still are pretty young. And I think that that trio, they still look young. And the other movies, they still, even though they're high schoolers, they feel like older people, like late 20s.
Yeah.
But with this, even by the third one at the end of this film, I was like, oh, they're still kids.
I think
it's nice.
Zendaya's acting is so good, and her she changes her voice.
Yeah.
Slow. If you watch
It's a higher pitched voice.
if you watch her in this versus like Malcolm and Marie, it's totally. It's like wow, she's tremendous.
She made
actress.
herself feel younger.
Yeah.
That's what she's a really good actor.
And
She did a good job.
Tom brought it in this movie.
Yeah.
Like he really had a lot to work with, and he went full out. He brought everything he had in this movie. I think he's terrific in Infinity War, even though he's not in a ton of. He's in a good amount of it, but he's not in a ton of Endgame. But I think he's great in Infinity War, but he really shined in this movie. He brought the humor, he brought the action, the stunts, the rage, the emotions, everything. He knocked it out of the park in this role.
Yeah, he's had multiple scenes where he's had to say goodbye to someone he loves, and he does it really well. Like he did the same thing with Tony Stark. He had to do with Aunt May, like watch them die.
So it's really tough. It's really emotional. But that was a really incredible acting, the scene when Aunt May does. I think he did a great job.
She did too. Marissa Tomei stole that.
I mean, she's an Oscar winner, man. She's awesome.
Before we continue, I have to tell you all about movieposters.com. Head on over to movieposters.com and use our special promo code Raiders10 to get 10% off your order today. If you want to get some Spider-Man posters, be sure to enter our contest by subscribing to our YouTube channel, commenting on this video, your favorite Spider-Man movie, and that enters you into the contest to win a free Spider-Man No Way Home poster from movieposters.com. And if you don't win the contest, head on over to the website and get a poster of any movie you want. They have pretty much every film or TV show imaginable, all sorts of sizes, framing, backlighting, whatever your poster needs are. Movieposters.com has it.
All right, there are a few more things I want to touch on, and then we'll actually dive into a bunch of questions that our fans sent us on Instagram because we wanted to get your thoughts and what you were curious about and get over that also. But first, I want to talk about, I think that some people might be confused about is in terms of like calling MIT. Like, I think there's a joke going around like, oh, all Peter had to do was call MIT and none of this would have happened, which isn't true because what causes them to get their second chance to get into MIT is the spell starting to get cast, bringing in Doc Ock, forcing Peter to save the woman who works from MIT as she's like a dean or something like that. So if she never of admissions, he never would have been in that situation. He never would have saved her life, which would have been like she was like, oh, I'm gonna give you a second chance for sure. So like that never would have happened.
And he technically didn't call MIT; he called Flash.
Oh no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like because then Doctor Strange after that, it's like you didn't call MIT.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. So like, why didn't you call MIT to see if you could plead your case? And he's like, oh well, it's too late now. But like, even if he did it, it wouldn't have meant anything.
Exactly. Yeah.
The only reason why they got the second chance is because Doc Ock came in, and then he saved the woman on the highway. So I think that's just a joke. I think that's going to be going around, but it's kind of just proved it false.
Yeah. Yeah, you totally falsified that.
100%.
Fake news.
Fake news. It's a fun like meme, like, oh, all Peter had to do was call MIT. It's like, nah, bro. It's not that simple.
It was a joke.
Yeah. All right, what else we got? Let's see. I think the revelation of Peter Parker, we've never seen that before for Peter Parker and Spider-Man, so I think that was so much fun. It was so interesting to watch, like, what would happen if the most famous person on the planet went to your high school? What would that be like? That was so interesting to watch, and, like, obviously everyone...
The teachers are so funny.
Yeah, obviously... I love how Hannibal is just like, he's a killer.
He's a killer.
And obviously all the kids would just be taking photos of you in the hallway, which is super accurate.
Yeah.
Because we hate when we watch high school like movies and shows.
Kids don't have their
phones out. It's like, come on. Like if you walk through a high school in the hallway, like I guarantee every kid has a phone out.
Yeah, exactly. And I just think that the transformation for Peter to go from a kid into a man in this film was the best arc for his character so far.
Yeah. And
he's always been a kid in every movie.
Yeah. Michael Giacchino did a great job with the music in this film. I thought it was tremendous.
Great hearing the old scores.
I was like, I swear I heard the Danny Elfman theme. Yeah, I heard.
He did the Electro theme too.
Yeah,
so Hans Zimmer Electro. He did the Doc Ock. He did the Goblin theme.
Yeah,
he did them all.
There were a lot of great moments. Even like when he's a good guy, which is I loved. I love how Otto became a protagonist and helped the Peters out.
It's inevitable for him.
Yeah, and so I really loved how he's talking to Toby. He's like, Peter, my boy, how are you? You all grown up? He's like, how are you? I'm like, just trying to do better. So it's like, oh man, my heart.
Yeah, it reminds you of the dinner table.
It's getting emotional.
Yeah.
So it was so great. I'm surprised to like, say something about poetry or something.
Although I will say, Lizard kind of took a back seat.
I don't think anyone really cares about Lizard.
No one cares about Lizard.
Like Lizard's Lizard.
He's just there for the fight scenes.
He's just in the truck too.
Yeah.
He's just like chilling by himself. He's like, I guess I'll stay here. Why can't I be in the apartment?
Yeah. And then Sandman, he had a bit of a bigger role than I expected, but he was still pretty much like a side character.
Yeah, but I think he was pretty solid.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's fine. But I think Electro really stood out in terms of the new characters for his new interpretation. And there's that great scene of his reveal in the woods, and I love how Peter just duct taped his smartphone to his chest and had it on selfie cam with the other two, like just FaceTiming with them.
The concept's just so interesting when we have all the villains in the basement, though, and then they learn that they were just about to be killed while fighting Spider-Man, and then Tom doesn't want to send them to their deaths. It's a really great morality character arc, and, it does cause them to turn on him eventually, but then he has to fight them and cure them all. But to cure them all instead of letting them go to their deaths, which is what Doctor Strange wanted to do because it was part of their fate, it's really interesting. But I wonder if there will be any repercussions about changing the fate of those other multiverse dimensions on their dimension.
Oh, definitely. Because, both characters are in the right from their perspectives. You know what I mean? Because Doctor Strange understands how significant this could be in terms, and how insignificant it is, these few lives compared to the entire multiverse.
Plus, compared to Loki with the time police and everything that we're learning.
Exactly. So he's like, this is really insignificant. But then he really shows his morality of being a hero of like, I'm going to save every life I can regardless. But I think that, Strange is like a necessary authority in the MCU of like understanding how important the fabric of reality is, and how doing these things can really alter things.
Yeah, and this movie got me really excited for Multiverse of Madness, even more than I already was.
Yeah, it had a great trailer in the post-credits. It looks really fun.
And I like how we didn't spend too much time. Like, I love Doctor Strange in the movie, but I like how he wasn't in as much as I thought he would be in. I thought he would be like a main character throughout the entire thing.
Yeah, he was just first act and climax.
Yeah, but it was really fun. I've been hanging over the Grand Canyon for 12 hours. He needed your help, man.
It reminded me of Loki when he makes him appear again in Thor Ragnarok.
Oh, when he's been falling?
I've been falling for 20 hours.
20 minutes. Super funny.
Yeah.
I think, all right, so, and then the end credits scene with Venom.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the big question for now is, how was Venom put into that dimension? He didn't. Eddie Brock doesn't know who Peter Parker is. So I'm assuming that it's the symbiote.
Did Venom?
No, I'm assuming the symbiotes are connected. Like, is it like a hive mind, kind of like in Edge of Tomorrow, where if one symbiote knows something, then all symbiotes know anything. And like before, remember the end credits at the end of Venom?
Well, Venom explains it in number 2.
Yes, at the end of Venom, Venom 2, he's talking about symbiotes have traveled all through space and time and all sorts of stuff.
That's definitely it.
So I'm assuming that symbiote knows Peter Parker's identity. That's why he's put that back there, and that's why he's put back at the end in the post-credit scene. He's put back into his old world.
It's just shared knowledge. So that's totally right.
It seems like Venom won't be the villain, I guess, in Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
It will be Venom.
But didn't he get sent back somewhere else?
No, but the symbiote will be a new Venom.
Oh, you're right. The symbiote left over on the bar.
Yeah, there's little
totally forgot the
little drop. Yeah,
which is a bummer because I would have liked to see Tom Hardy versus Tom Holland.
I know that was kind of underwhelming for me.
Tom versus Tom.
I wanted to see Tom Hardy in the universe, and that's what I thought was happening. But
it's a clever way to get Venom into this dimension.
Yeah, it makes sense because when Hardy showed up in the bar in the post-credit scene, I'm like, wait, why didn't he get sent back? And then then I realized, it's before the spell was
finished. Then how did he even get sent there in the first place?
Yeah.
So it's not Eddie.
Sense.
I think it's the symbiote knows Peter Parker.
I think we'll get an Eddie Brock then.
A new one, yeah. A different Eddie Brock.
Yeah, it won't be. It's gonna be someone closer to Tom's age.
So, I wonder who it will be.
Yeah.
Anyways, but I think that's why Venom got placed into this MCU
You're right.
timeline.
You're absolutely right.
All right.
He's absolutely right.
All right, and yeah, I love the ending still. I think it's fantastic. The Statue of Liberty.
It's one of the best endings in the MCU, I think.
And the Statue of Liberty battle was epic. It reminded me so much of X-Men, the first one.
Oh,
the battle on the Statue of Liberty, stuff like that.
That's
so
right.
it was really reminiscent of that for me. And it was, I can't believe we saw 3 Spider-Men swinging from a Captain America shield on the Statue of Liberty in a movie.
They did the hero landing. It was great.
When they finally when they're trying to fight and work together, but they're like, we're not doing a good job. I work on my own. Yeah, me too. And then Tom's like, I can do it, man.
I've been in a team.
I've worked on a team before. And then they get going. It was epic.
Who are the Avengers? Are you in a band?
It's like, all right, let's coordinate. And then they run together. They jump off the edge together.
Yeah.
And they're all like, woo!
Yeah.
That was the best shot in the movie, I think, when they're all flying through the air.
Yeah, that was great.
Man.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
I can't wait. We're going to see this again this week. I can't wait. How about we had 2 questions from fans, and then we'll wrap this thing up. How's that sound? Unless you got something else.
Let's wrap it up in a web.
All right. Is this the best Spider-Man film? I'm putting it at number 2 on my list.
I have it at number 3.
All right. Which universe is Tom Hardy's Venom from? We don't know. I don't think, right?
Sony's universe.
Let's see. I think we asked this earlier. Do Toby and Andrew's Peter's... Actually, so do Toby and Peter's world forget who Peter Parker was in their world?
Yes.
You think so?
Absolutely.
I think it just applies to this dimension.
It could, but they're part of the spell.
Yeah.
I think anyone who's part of the spell,
it's interesting. All right. Who could you see directing the next 3? Spider-Man movies.
Directing the next 3?
Who knows? Because it's actually interesting because John Waters is the first, I believe.
John Watts.
John Watts is the first Marvel director to actually do a full trilogy.
Yeah.
There have only been directors who've done 2 of trilogies.
I mean, I would say they'll probably go with someone who's relatively unknown and made maybe a couple indie films.
All right, let's see what else we got. What's Spider-Man's future in the MCU? We don't know yet. I think it's going to be interesting to see like a grounded version of Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
I would love to see a Spider-Man trilogy without MCU characters in it. I think that would be really fun. Just Spider-Man.
How do they find the audacity to put me on that much of an emotional roller coaster?
Hey, I think it worked. The other 2 were lacking in emotional depth, I think.
Why is it called No Way Home? Because Peter's home no longer exists and there's no way to get back.
Yeah.
It's gone forever. Why was Electro in the movie? I think we kind of figured that out.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite Spidey in the film? Not ever, just in the film.
Garfield.
I think Andrew, man.
Garfield.
I think Andrew for me, and I was awesome. Was Jamie Foxx's Electro redeemed? Absolutely.
100%.
Let's see what else we got. Where was Stark Tower in all of the wide shots? It's a different. Oh, where was it?
It should be in New York, yeah.
You're right. It should be in New York.
Yeah.
Was there a full wide shot of the entirety of New York?
I don't think so. I don't think a full wide landscape.
Let's see. How is Tobey Maguire not fazed by that stab? He's like, oh, I've been stabbed before.
He has. He's like Spider-Man 3. He gets messed up.
Yeah, he's taking a beating, dude. Yeah,
also, he's super powered.
So basically, no one remembers Peter Parker exactly, Cammy. His identity is completely gone.
He's
Doctor
erased.
Strange. Will Andrew Garfield come back in Morbius? I would love to see Andrew Garfield in the new Spider-Man, but I don't think they're going to do it.
I'd watch a Spider-Man movie.
I
with
absolutely
Andrew
would, but I
Garfield.
think it's just this was like a curtain call. I think it was a way for them all to say goodbye, you know?
Bro, in 10 years or even 20 years, you wouldn't want to see it?
I want it.
Right.
I'm just saying they're not going to do it.
They'll do it.
I want one for each of them.
Jimmy, the reaction to this was so great. I guarantee they do an Andrew Garfield movie. Not anytime soon, but it's definitely in the cards.
I
still.
want a Tobey Maguire old Spider-Man movie too. I want
A finale.
I want like Tobey with a gray beard, like
And
still
kids.
doing it, like him and MJ are just on the rocks.
It's your turn to do the dishes.
I have to go save people.
There are webs everywhere.
How do I get this off?
Don't even give me that spider sense bullshit.
All right, how they managed to keep the surprise at third act under wraps for so long. I mean,
By not showing anything, not having any of the actors do press.
and non-disclosure agreements,
Yeah.
which will ruin somebody's life if they break those contracts.
They probably would have been sued up the a-hole
Yeah.
if they said anything.
NDAs are pretty serious, especially with
Marvel.
big corporations. Like,
But I will say, Andrew Garfield, people were he every interview he gave, he had to deny, and people were like, "Oh no, is he really in it?" I'm like, "He's an actor. He's a great actor. He's obviously acting right now in all these
professional liars.
interviews."
And I read somewhere that, like, Toby's like going to bars, like, yeah, I'm totally in it, man.
No way.
He's like, I don't care.
He's like, I don't give an F. I'm Spider-Man. If you're the first one, like Michael Keaton can still say, "I'm Batman. I started it all." You know.
Let's see. A bunch of how did Electro come back in? I think we got that. Let's see. The spell brought back dead villains. Actually, it brought back villains who were about to be killed by Spider-Man and fighting Spider-Man, not killed by
From
Spider-Man.
different timelines.
But not Uncle Ben or Gwen, who are also dead. So it's a good question.
Oh,
Why
wow.
doesn't Gwen or MJ come back? Uncle Ben never knew that Peter was Spider-Man, so he would never come back. But Gwen and
She
MJ,
knew. They both
that's
knew.
interesting that they never came. I was expecting them almost to be in the movie.
They should be in the movie, yeah. Unless it goes, they have to be interacting with Spider-Man. Hence why they all were brought back right before their deaths at Spider-Man's hands.
But interacting with Spider-Man, it could have been any time that they're making out with MJ. Like getting coffee.
They're like in bed, like, "Oh my God, what's going on?" Actually, that's a great point. I mean,
I wonder why they didn't
MJ
come
and Gwen
back.
should have been sent back.
Maybe it
too.
would have just been too complicated story-wise, I guess. I don't know.
Maybe they
like-
couldn't. Maybe they tried to get the actresses, but they couldn't.
Because the spell was... I'm sure they would have came back.
I mean, maybe it just didn't work out scheduling wise.
Yeah, who knows?
Maybe they didn't want to be in it.
Yeah, maybe.
You never know. I mean, maybe they're just like done.
All right, where is Nick Fury? Somewhere off-world. We don't know yet. Why did Aunt May have to die? I think they wanted to reboot Spider-Man with Tom Holland, and I think, you know...
He needs the Lost character.
He needs
his
Lost.
Uncle Ben or
Yeah, so that's his Uncle Ben. So honestly, you could say that was the best Uncle Ben scene we've ever had.
Yeah.
With Aunt May doing the lines and everything.
I don't know. The first Uncle Ben one with Toby just like bawling his eyes out.
tragic.
That's great.
Let's see. Are Ned and MJ done in the MCU for time being? I'm sure they'll be back for Tom's new Spider-Man.
Ned will be a sorcerer.
It seems like, but will he remember that he's magic?
Oh, good point.
So I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's the whole thing we were talking, the conundrum. Like, do they remember they were with Spider-Man?
He needs a sling ring to be able to do stuff, so he may never know that he's magic. Where did the new suit come from? He made it. He made that. That's why
hence the sewing machine
and stuff like that. And you could tell it like
he got it on Amazon.
It looked like maybe there was Sharpie on it, or like for the webbing or something like that. Who knows how he made it? But yeah, making his own. Does Spider Toby shoot webs out of anywhere? Why is Ned magical? Why was he wearing Hobgoblin colors? Maybe the Hobgoblin, you're reading it. Maybe we're reading into it too much for that. Maybe it was just like
I think they did the colors because for the trailer they wanted people to be talking about that.
Yeah, and then why is Ned magical? I think they're just trying to make.
They needed to figure out a way to get the other Peter Parkers in real quick.
Yeah.
That's called, like, when you're writing and you have a plot hole, you try and fill in that plot hole, and that was, I think, the easiest solution for how do we get both Peter Parkers in this movie right now.
Let's give Ned powers.
Ned naturally having magical powers. Yeah, that's the only way I think they could have figured it out.
All right.
Because how else do the Peters find him?
Yeah. What would you guys like to see next for the new MCU trilogy? For the Spider-Man one, like we've been saying, like a grounded Tom Holland by himself Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's what I want to see.
Sign me up. Like, I will see 7 of those.
I just want to feel more traditional. It's just not MCU, not MCU-y, not crossover-y. That's what I want.
What else do we got? I think most.
And I want to see Harry Osborn.
Will we get an official picture of the new suit? Absolutely, I'm sure. Like in a couple days, I think they want everyone to see it for like a week or two, then they'll start.
Yeah, they don't want spoilers. Not everyone's seen it yet. It's only been out for 3 days.
But I mean, if you go on IMDb on like Andrew Garfield's IMDb, it says like Peter Parker.
If you Google Spider-Man No Way Home, the first casting image is Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man.
Will another actor play Venom in Tom's films? For sure, they'll have to get someone else.
I think they'll get Eddie Brock in there.
Because Tom's Eddie Brock got sent back to his dimension.
Yeah.
Why was Dane DeHaan in it? Dane wasn't in it.
No, he wasn't in it.
Maybe they meant to say why wasn't Dane DeHaan in it.
I think that no one liked the character.
Yeah, I think that kind of character interpretation wasn't super great.
He was probably like, oh, am I going to get a phone call? That poor kid, he must like...
He's an awesome actor, too.
But, I mean, to not get the call for this movie, that must suck.
Well, I mean, you got to pick one Goblin. Who are you going to pick?
Yeah,
Willem or Dane DeHaan? Yeah. Like, I'll take Willem's Goblin every time. But I'm sure Dane DeHaan would be, obviously, that Goblin.
Yeah, but that must be a bummer for him.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Like, not getting the call for this.
Because kind of everyone else got the call.
Yeah, everyone else. They got Lizard in there, man.
Except for Paul Giamatti with Rhino.
Yeah, but he's only in like 5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
But he gets a call. He gets a shout out though.
Yeah, you're right. He gets a shout out, and you can see like his form in the sky.
Yeah. But I think that was a different. I think that was natural, like a different Rhino. Yeah.
Oh, and actually, another question is, what was the purple stuff in the sky? That was the dimensions in opening up and letting in all of the people, all the villains.
It would have been like an infinite number of people.
Yeah, so probably like 1 million at least villains would have just came pouring in to fight Spider-Man and destroy the world. So that was Doctor Strange.
But also 1 million Spider-Man people would have come in.
And did Doctor Strange have to cast that spell? Couldn't he have like left MJ out of it, left Ned out of it? I think no, because in order to stop them all coming in, it had to be done pure. Everyone forgets Peter Parker. It's the only way to stop it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you keep tampering with the spell, which had already been tampered with enough, they have to redo it, and they learned the hard way that it wouldn't work the other way.
Yeah, exactly.
They had to do it in order to save the world.
And also, it's important for the growth of Peter Parker's character.
And what's great is, this film is really, one of the main themes is responsibility, and Peter's taking responsibility for his actions. He started the whole thing. It's all because of him, and all the loss he suffers is because of him. He lost Aunt May. He loses everyone who knew who he was. He loses his best friend. He loses MJ because of his actions. So now it's about him learning from that and dealing with that and taking responsibility eventually.
Exactly, man.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Judgment.
All right.
Got some trivia.
Let's do it.
Willem Dafoe only agreed to reprise his role as the Green Goblin on the condition that he would still be allowed to perform the majority of his own stunts like he did in Spider-Man 1.
For his appearance in Spider-Man No Way Home, Alfred Molina was digitally de-aged to make him appear as he had in Spider-Man 2 in 2004, and his mechanical tentacles were created through CGI rather through puppetry like in the original film.
For their appearances in Spider-Man No Way Home, both Jamie Foxx and Willem Dafoe were very excited to reprise their old villain roles. Jamie Foxx's motivation was that he was going to be able to get a new interpretation of his character, and Alfred Molina, meanwhile, joked that he was only in the movie for the paycheck at first, but then he confirmed that he liked the story a lot.
I'm sure it was a good paycheck.
Yeah, it's a fat paycheck. It's probably like $5 million for a month of work.
Yeah, he's in a lot of this movie too.
This movie actually was not supposed to be an MCU collaboration. Just the first two Tom Holland Spidey movies were supposed to be MCU crossovers. But in Sony, originally for this third film, they wanted to do it without Marvel on their own. No Marvel crossover, no other characters. And fans reacted very negatively. And so Tom Holland actually stepped in and convinced Sony to renegotiate a new deal with Disney to involve them in the process of this film. And so they came to new terms, and Marvel was able to invest some of their money into the film, and it was more of like a joint project this time.
In Spider-Man No Way Home, the Green Goblin's mask, a detail that some fans have considered silly or unnecessary, is destroyed by Norman Osborn, and his outfit, which incorporates a shredded purple hoodie over his armor, also makes him more like his comics counterpart.
I like both. I mean, I like the mask. I was scared of it when I was a kid.
I thought it was cool.
Yeah, and then you can just see his mouth and through the little hole, the visor.
But I do like the new interpretation of him with the goggles and stuff like that.
And also the hoodie.
Yeah.
When he was wearing the hoodie inside of with Aunt May, I was like, oh shoot, like that feels like the animated series Goblin.
Yeah.
That's it for my trivia.
All right, that wraps our episode on Spider-Man No Way Home. I'm sure we will revisit this at some other point. We want to do the entire trilogy with Homecoming and Far From Home as well. It was so much fun to go watch this movie. We really hope you all enjoyed it as much as we did. We can't wait to watch the rest of the MCU going forward. So excited for Multiverse of Madness and everything. So make sure to become a patron today at patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in, webheads. Have a great start to your week.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks so much for tuning in to Raiders of the Lost Podcast. Be sure to subscribe if you're new. Hit the like button, leave a comment. Find us on all audio streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find us. Find us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Raiders of the Lost Podcast. Be sure to check out one of these other videos right here for more content on our favorite films and breaking down all kinds of movie content. Thanks so much.